Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Pernigo bringing you some more Cause Monarchy video content. We are here casting Godwheat versus Grasseater. Truly a fight for the ages. We've got this and another map for you. 2 maps in total, all on Potidaea. A map by Bitty B. Shout out Bitty B. Shout him out. Godwheat in the top left is our red Terran, vivid red in fact, and Grasseater in the bottom right is our eggshell blue Zerg. Pretty chill attack. Yeah, alright, whatever you say, man. And we will have a stockade into a Hydrith match, so pretty standard openings here, actually, which is totally fair and expected. We are looking forward to seeing some more development from Zerg, particularly in this kind of matchup. We saw some TVZ. It was Newt versus Arbuz in the Weekend Wage most recently, on the past Sunday. I'm recording this on the 28th. 2 days ago, we had Weekend Wage number 5, and it was Newt versus Ayud in both the upper final and the grand final. So we're going to be taking a look at those matches at some point. I mean, I already casted the upper final on my stream, but we'll be casting the rest of them at some point soon. And I'm looking forward to that as well, because, you know, getting some high-level TVZs is always nice, but let's take a look at the mid-level. Let's take a look at how Godwheat versus Grasseater pairs up. They are going to be emulating a lot of what the upper-level players are doing. I look forward to seeing it in action. 2 stockade. It's going to be Iziricors after the Hydrith Den, and straight into a Larvosk here as soon as he has enough Vespene. There it is. We are going to see those Izzies coming out, and we like that. We like the Iziricor matchup into some bio. It's a very microable situation where the Zerg is, in theory, quite advantaged, but I'm still waiting on seeing some heavy micro potential out of our homies. A lot of minerals left for a ministry, so we'll see what Godwheat wants to do for his expansion timing, but he is pulling his Mason Scout back, and we're seeing those Iziricors push out to where they need to go. You guys like what you see with Cause Monarchy, I do highly recommend visiting some of our community centers, if you will. We've got a Discord server in the chat, in the description box there, and of course, we also have ways to donate to support it if you like that sort of thing, and you have that kind of cash to splash. Get all kinds of perks if you're already in our Discord server, or if you don't mind joining, you can go to our coffee page and donate monthly. Even for $3 a month, you get loads of things, loads of secret access that most people do not get. Big shout out there. We've got those Iziricors just kind of blindly walk in, and I don't think Grasseater was prepared. I mean, those Mavericks weren't even stimmed, and he still ended up losing one. A little bit of a flub here on the micro side, and he's going to have multiple Iziricors gunned down. That beautiful portrait that Solstice animated is not going to be on our screens for much longer if Godwheat has his way with that last Iziricor. There goes the Ministry, and indeed, dead. It feels like Grasseater might be struggling to find his keyboard. Not entirely sure. He doesn't typically play with such absent-minded micro. However, we are going to see many Iziricors be made. He cancels his plan to expand. The Mavericks are on the run, and our Terran will take... Oh, the lag excuse, I see. Oh, it looks like there was gamma radiation. I like that, yeah. Apparently there was... some kind of latency on, not the keyboard, it was like lag or whatever, I'm guessing. I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We had a pause. All good now. I'm sure we won't see any more silliness from Grasseater's control. He's going to go ahead and burrow his Iziricors, and I think when you come up here, this should be alarm bells ringing, but I feel like Iziricors being burrowed all the way over there, it kind of feels like Grasseater has played himself. The burrow is good there. Going to be pretty hard to force target down the Drolats when you got to stand on top of them, and there's other units in the area. So all those Mavericks donated over for a single Droleth kill, I believe, and just like that, they unburrow. A little bit of lost mining time, but that's about it. And we will end up seeing more stockades be added, more Mavericks be made, but at what cost? Now the Iziricors are on the run. Now they're moving. Anchors are going to be mandatory. Cestus would help out as well. We'll see if it's bothered to be put down. And indeed, it will just be a second anchor. All good there. I feel like overall, what we need to see out of our homies, our Grasseater Zerg homie, and our other Zerg homies, they are going to need to figure out that stabilization in the early stages of the game. I feel like a lot of the top Zergs have definitely done that. You know, Arbuz doesn't fall over to the Newt cheese as much. Although, you know, Ayud was moonlighting as Zerg. He had some troubles versus Newt's early game. Now, the Iziricors are trying to just run by. They do need to get rid of these poor Mavericks, and indeed they will. And this is going to be a problem, right? You unload out of the anchor, you suddenly have a lot less effective HP. More Iziricors coming in as well. This is going to be a problem. I love the little Masons blockading in that last Maverick there. They're easy enough to get rid of. But look at this. He's now whittled it down to only 4 Mavericks in those anchors. One of them very low. Kind of a Mason magnet. You can easily come in here and just bop him with the bounce damage. But he is going to struggle on the control a little bit here. Grass Eater can dial it in here. Oh, man. Great play so far with the positioning of those Iziricors, but they are going to start to falter. More of them coming in. That anchor floats away with 2 Mavericks still in it. The natural is open for business. Not a lot of Masons there to actually be killed, though. And 3 Iziricors gather around for 5 more. This is a really funny situation to be in. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is a bit of a zany game we have here as the 1-base Iziricor flood continues, very occasionally building 1 Droleth. Now, will the Maverick count stabilize for this? This is the question. Now the anchors have repositioned themselves as such, you can probably heckle the Masons in the natural, shutting down that base, making it so that he effectively just has the 1 base. Expansion coming down for Grass. Godwheat still maintaining a significant worker advantage right about now. His macro mechanics are definitely baseline stronger, I would say, than a lot of other players of his sort of commonplace attacker, the ones that he actually beats. But unfortunately, his micro struggled some a little bit here. Now he's got to sit here and try to repair these anchors. I think the Iziricors are just going to do it, man. He's got 3 more coming as reinforcements. I think the monocomp is going to work out just fine here for Grass. Now, struggling a little bit on the chosen attack move. Here we go. Those ones came up here and then turned around, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what I just saw happen. Very, very big problems here for our Wheat of God. He has not made any unit other than Maverick, and it turns out that does not win when not microed, as it has not been by Godwheat. And I think the Iziricors are knocking on the door, shutting down the mining at the natural. Meanwhile, Grass Eater has a couple more Iziricors on the way. He's just going to charge over onto the Mavericks. The stims are coming out, though. Pretty good. I don't think he's in too much trouble anymore, it looks like. A lot of Masons are softened up, but that should be a wrap. We got, what, 6 more Iziricors coming? Going to be dangerous when they get to a critical mass. Some savants have been afforded somehow by Godwheat's economy, and he's lost a lot of Masons, but Grass Eater hasn't really made a lot of Droleths, so I suppose it's all well that ends well. Right about now, what we need to see out of Godwheat is, again, just the same thing I said about our Zerg player, stabilization. It can be so dangerous to try to attack a Terran sometimes that most players don't even bother. But Grass Eater, either by not really thinking about it too hard, or just by simply like knowing actually that his opponent can't have too much, just decided to go for a push. And now the Savants are on the high ground where they cannot defend the Masons. You have to concede this position again, as the Iziricors erase many of Godwheat's workers. Savants will shoo away the Iziricors, but that's pretty rough, man. That is a difficult situation to be in. Now you're down material, down workers, down a base, and here come the Droleths going after those minerals. Zorka's Shroud on the way. The 2 Mavericks chased the Iziricors into death, and Godwheat didn't even notice. He's going to try to go ahead and reclaim this position now that he's got lots of Savants. Ironically, he could probably lift the Ministry up and go back over there, but it will take some time. Just going to go ahead and remake Masons here. Try to have a saturated single base. He's got all this infrastructure, all this production, he can't afford to use it. Got to be careful about the Savant count, though. That does demand some kind of attention. Zorka Shroud is going to be one piece of the puzzle. Bactylisks in enough number can do the trick, but look at this. He's actually going to dive forward and just try to do what he can to whittle down the Bioforce. He knows that he needs to stall out so that his opponent doesn't just walk up to him. I don't know, it can be pretty dangerous. 7 more Iziricors on the way. So if you can get up to the Tethvith Swamp, you can make Tetzoricors and just shut down the units that way. But that's not what we see happening, right? It's the Shroud instead. And a drop from Godwheat, earmarked courtesy of this Trojan. Iziricors catching their breath. Hatcherosk, not really super well saturated. I mean, the gas is, I suppose. The geyser is, but need a little bit more Droleth there. Looks like a 3rd base in the pipe for Grass Eater. Canada moment. Maybe Canada just has bad internet. Correct. Absolutely. That's why we call it a Canada moment when you disconnect, by the way. Shout out to Iskatumesk one time. The Lakizilisks are coming out here in pretty good numbers. I feel like this is going to be more than enough to deal with what Godwheat has on offer. Although the Shaman does prove somewhat dangerous, since it does have detection well deployed. Nothing here to defend versus the impending Force Avant drop. If he just makes some Hydras, he actually could deal with that easily enough. But that's a unit that Grass Eater has not yet discovered in the tech tree. We still have a decent number of Savants. It looks like 10 of them will be deployed. My Zeracors are kind of bumbling into that position, forcing a stim, but that'll be handled by the Shaman just fine. And the Lakers need to get ready to go. The drop is going to come in. We don't have any units over here for the defense here, so this is maybe where Godwheat can cause some serious problems. Is Grass Eater even going to notice? He's just walking in with his Lakers. That's not what you need to do here, man. You cannot just lose your Lakers like that. There's a deployed Shaman right there, and you scouted it. Oh, geez, so many dead Droleth. And he's lost just about everything at the front gate. Grass Eater. I think, what's that disease you can get if you eat fox poop in grass? That's basically what Grass Eater just got. GG. See you later, dude. Yeah, neuropathy detected, and that will be a win for Godwheat. But was it a win for either of, was it a win for either of us? Me and you, the viewer. I don't know. I don't know if the answer to that is yes. Maybe we'll get a win in Game 2 coming at you. Godwheat has totaled up a win, but it didn't feel like he should have. Then again, maybe Grass Eater shouldn't have either. Our Eggshell Blue Zerg in the bottom right is once again dueling Grass Eater, who's now Godwheat, who is now in the top left as our Beaster Brown, Light Olive Terran. I may never tell those colors apart. I'm going to be honest with you guys. So it will be Stockade, and for Grass Eater, it will be Hydrith, and we will go again. I like that. I mean, honestly. After how absurd the first game was, if it hadn't ended so anticlimactically with mistakes being made by the army movements so much that were so monumentally, instantaneously punished by the Terran setup, I feel like that last game would have been overall a thumbs up, right? Because it's like, yeah, that's a silly game. That's a goofy way to go. The Savants get their extra attack speed by being in their deployed mode and stealing it from their victims. The Zeracors in the lake is just kind of wandering in there. I mean, that's dangerous. And it didn't end up looking very good. But if Grass Eater had controlled that a little bit better, that would have been a really tense moment that didn't have such a one-sided payoff. And maybe there would have been a potential for a base trade or something, although I think reinforcements would have eventually cleaned up the Savants. But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong about that. For Zeracors, that's a great all-in timing here. There's I say all-in because it's quite committed. Transitioning out of this requires that you do a lot of damage. We'll see if Godwheat can riposte it. I feel like he should be able to, but he is going for a one Stockade expand. This is stylistically a great option here. You can tell that because he had so much money in the tank. Now, he's going to have to add that anchor, and is he actually going to go for a ministry so close? No, it's just going to be a Stockade to try to wall in a little bit. You can still slip Zeracors above it, but this does make some degree of sense. Now, the Mason stuck around to find the timing. Hi. A little bit risky there for Grass Eater to continuously stick on the attack move. It does allow a second anchor to go down. This is not... I don't think this is an Izzy tight wall. I think you can walk right past here. So unless he puts like a Mason or two in this position to sort of plug that up, the Zeracor might even be able to fit between the two anchors. I actually don't know if the answer to that is yes. It shouldn't be able to do it diagonally, though. Diagonals are typically quite good. And look at that. Oh, I thought Godwheat was actually aware. He's going to put down an anchor. That might actually be enough. Let's see if the Zeracors can fit through. It doesn't look like he wants to bother. So it has been held. This is a very committed hold. It kind of reminds me of when you would see... He cancels the last anchor. That makes sense. It kind of reminds me of... You'd see low-tier games in StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2, and people would scout and like a very committed attack, and they'd be like, oh shit, I'm going to really heavily defend this. And then they might be a little bit screwed on the follow-up, but canceling the anchor gives some of the money back, and now the Ministry can go. Stimming after that burrowed Zeracor that was very wounded is a good move by both players to make sure that their unit doesn't die. Good conservation tactics, and the hatch is done. So we are going to see that expansion come online here for Grass Eater very soon. Whereas the Ministry is still only halfway complete. Still plenty of time left to go. Hey, maybe pretty soon I'll dedicate some time to fixing up the last of the hooks of the original function we have to reverse engineer in StarCraft 1 modding, because there is no source code. But the reverse engineering, there is still some that is required in order to actually show you the number of seconds left in a progress bar. So that would be really cool if we could achieve that. Pool on the way. I wonder if that'll just be Giga upgraded. If he's going to go like Lyrilisk and... Lyrilisk Zoryus probably is a really good composition, come to think of it. You get the armor rend from the Rillarocores cores. You're already pretty fast, so maybe you don't need the Lyra as much. But, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I like shadowboxing compositions we don't always see. It is one of my favorite things to do. Adding more stockades now. This ministry did make a single mason, but he probably wants to think about actually taking his expansion. So off we go with the Cestises. He did end up remaking the third anchor, funnily enough. Man, this is the slowest way to like lift off and land a base and stuff that I've seen in a long time. You know you can do this a hell of a lot faster, buddy. Just saying. So, all right, so it's not for an upgraded pool. I guess he might have just want Zethra cores, which is pretty cool, honestly. The patrol out and then back onto the K-grid to replenish the timed life is hilarious, by the way. I have not seen another Zerg player do this, so I'm going to just give Grass credit for that one as an idea, but that's pretty nifty, man. That's good. Very good. I'm glad somebody did it. Expansion will eventually be taken here by Godwheat, and we have a third base coming for Grass Eater, so a much more economically minded Zerg this time around, as he has vastly overtaken his opponent in terms of worker count. He's got an Agrolith coming for the purpose of laying down a whole bunch of construction. Hydra's on the way, and Avaleth is out there for scouting. We'll probably also feign a drop, or maybe actually have a drop. Worker saturation now starting to come down here to the natural. Not a whole lot there available for harassment or anything, but there's not a whole lot of workers for Godwheat, period. Azira cores are out in pretty big numbers. A lot more Hydras coming, which I do appreciate. That add-on, by the way, was a Vestry. Now we've got the Covenant coming. It's going to be some time before we actually get access to the Savants that Godwheat knows and loves so very much. I know Vilius is more of a Savant or a Cyprian player. I do have a replay of him versus Sausage, but I don't have any replays of him versus Zerg, I don't think. Maybe I'll take a look at those. Try to profile some of our lesser-known players. Some of our players who don't get as much screen time. Every now and then it's a good idea. Oh, I guess I should also mention, I do technically have a TikTok now. I don't actually have the app myself, but that's okay. It's fine. You know, like TikTok exists. You can go to tiktok.com, I guess, /Pronogo. I don't know how it even works. But eventually I'll be uploading some videos there that will not be uploaded here. So that is my bid to win over the youth. And shout out to my girlfriend for running the account. So if you leave a comment, it will probably be read by her before it's read by me. Fair warning. But that's what you get. You know, you guys get a girlfriend, and she really likes your game, and so she runs a TikTok account for you. She's in the know on that stuff more than I am, that's for sure. I'm Boomer. Eidolon's out. We got plenty of those coming, actually, and many more stockades look to be in the little. In the draft there. This one got decollided from that stockade being put down and then just decided to phase through all of the other ones. Like, I'm just going to walk through walls now. These anchors are not going defensively, by the way. He's going to land them inside the main base, and 12 Mavericks, even unstimmed, are going to be a little bit annoying to deal with. He doesn't have any military forces. His sole static defense structure is actually inside his natural. The Rillarocores might be able to help him spot it, but his army is all the way out here. Let's see if he can actually break through, because Savants are nowhere to be found. It's all Eidolon. And honestly, you can deal with Eidolon with all these Azira cores and Bactyls, so I'm not terribly worried about it. Where's that Avaleth? Taking base number 4. Avaleth is out here at the 11 o'clock-ish area, 12 o'clock-ish area. No reaction, of course. There's none needed. That's to do a double take. And he pulls his whole army back. Sometimes I wonder. No! He pulls his Bactyls back, but his Azira cores stay. I thought they were going to charge him to death, honestly. I fully expected that to happen. Third base coming for Godwheat. Bactyls dying to Mavericks and Anchors. And now the stim begins. I would just go after the Larvos, but he's actually going to get the ski back because Grass Eater is not paying attention. No! No, why is he sending his Iziracors into death? What's happening, Grass Eater? How much grass did you eat? Maybe you should try eating it instead of smoking it. What the hell's going on, buddy? You sent half your army back home, the half that did damage, then you sent the half that does the tanking and revealing of the Eidolons into the Eidolons. You goobered! You goobered everywhere! And now there's just a bunch of empty anchors in your base as monuments to your gooberness. Now, that being said, I know I'm being a bit harsh to Grass Eater. But he actually does have a thriving economy. He lost one base and still has double the economy, effectively, of what Godweed has. So we're still feeling pretty good, actually, about our Zerg chances. He can still do this kind of thing pretty well. So, once again, I feel like we're in that position where, like, Godweed overcorrected on the defense of the all-in. Then Grass Eater just decided to not win the game when he could have. And went back home and defended with all of his army instead of using reinforcements off the dome. And now it comes down to, like, neither player really deserves to win this game, but somebody's gotta. You know, somebody's gotta. Not without spoiling specifics, the recent ASL finals, I haven't finished watching it even, but neither player that made it there has won a championship. And so this is the much more low-tier version of that. You know, like, in that case, one player has to go home as a champion. And in this case, one player has to go home having won this game, even though neither of them deserve it necessarily. It's the exact opposite of ASL, where both of them can be argued to deserve it. All right, Hydra back on the way. The Iziracors are going to get run through. There are Hurricanes here, but they're not in the front lines. Hold on. We are going to lose everything except for our Eidolons here if we're on Godweed's side for this particular one. I think we're about to watch Hydra back try to clean this up. They pull away instead, waiting for those frontline Iziracors from the spawning grounds to arrive and actually do something. The Zeth Corps is just here for scouting. We once again have an attempt. That Mason's going to be luring the Zeth away, and then the Eidolons will snipe it. We'll get a fourth base going for our Terran player, reestablishing Droleth at our main base for Zerg. He can go again. He doesn't believe in himself just yet, but he doesn't. He also doesn't know how many. Oh my God! All of the Eidolons are off in that pocket, dude. If you knew as Zerg, you would just totally go for that. Skither Corps is a great choice versus Eidolon, by the way. I don't know how many people bother with it for actual army fighting. But you get right on top of the Eidolons, and the Bactals will do the rest. You can also, of course, just run around and kill Masons. A good target there as well. A lot of Hurricanes come out. We saw recently TVP, Shopkeeper Dog, do a Blackjack Eidolon. Huracan Eidolon is a sort of lower tech version of that. Obviously can't attack air as much, because Blackjacks attack air. But they have armor end. Not really that useful for specifically Eidolons, but can be useful for a variety of other things. It's kind of getting clogged up here on the inner 12 spot. Got some more Bactals being made. He has no idea that Godweed is passing him off to the right-hand side, and so this does kind of... Okay, it looks like maybe his units got spotted, and now his army off to the right is kind of bisected by itself just by terrain. He doesn't even kill those Bactals morphing into the eggs. I don't know, this feels a little bit chancy. The Skither Corps arrive to accept all of the Masons being waypointed into the fourth. So Godweed will once again be conceding the worker count lead over to Grass Eater in a moment here. Now all of the Hurricans can get activated, though. This is a much better positioned army than the last time we saw it. The Obelisk is here for detection, but doesn't even really matter right now. The Hurricans are chanting. They're chanting. They want their victory, and they want it badly. We've got all of the Hydras coming in off the waypoint, but the Bactals are basically torn to shreds. Where are the Skither Corps at? They're only now entering into the main base, and we had a bunch of units that got stuck off of the rally. And unlike all those times the Protoss had that happen to them, those units are actually useful, starting to heckle the Skither Corps as the last of the frontal army is cut down to size, and the Skits just were right-clicked onto a stockade instead of doing something more useful. I can't believe it. Iziracors galore. They're going to waypoint into death. Kind of reminds me of how the game happened in the mid-game, and yeah, this is a wrap, boys. We're going to see some dead Masons at the very least. We've got so many bases for Sir Grass, but he has nothing for combat units. He's got 12 Iziracors. That's not going to help him. Watchdogs are going to be assembled here. There's not really any Masons over here, so losing this position isn't really that much of a deal. At least some Eidolons got given away. You know what? Godweed said, hold my grass, and decided to throw his Eidolons out there. Hilarious. There's a lot. There's still a lot of Eidolons. 22 of them, in fact. Watchdogs being made very slowly. One of them is actually going to get up. That's so sad for Grass Eater. I guess multiple of them will get up. 20 I0 cores are ready to go, and they're also ready to go directly to Zerg Hell. Or are they? I mean, they are going to get right on top of those Eidolons. Shamans are going to make it so that it's a lot harder for pure Izzy to deal with this. Here come the Skits trying their best. Can they get right on top of them? I don't think the answer is yes. Oh, hold on. Well, he right-clicked the Shaman, so that's why that one disappeared. But look, you saw how the concentration of Skits was able to deal with the concentration of Eidolons. If you don't position your army properly as Terran there, you can get absolutely bodied by those Skith cores. 12 more on the way, 6 Zorius, and he's got a stack of Hydras. He's probably going to turn into Bactals on the high ground there. If I had to speculate. The Zozak Gorge on the way. Do we not see any Gorger cores coming? That would be a perfect unit here. He's made a couple of static defense structures at the third base, most likely with this aggro left, but it will be destroyed. I think it killed a Hurakan with the help of one of the Circuits. The Skits are trying to stack up. He could decide to go for an attack onto this, but instead it looks like he's going to evacuate his Droleth to the bottom left. He's going to start making some static defense there to see what he can do. He's going to concede this third base and see if he can just knock out the natural with his Skither cores. I guess this, I was ready to call it done. I mean, Tier 2 is done and starting to actuate, so it feels like we are going to see Godwheat take the dub. But there is a real chance that we end up seeing... Oh no, Ahmed has found your workers. Goodbye, workers. Skither cores have found your workers. Goodbye, workers. Dude, I don't even know what I'm going to use for the thumbnail for this. Oh, he evacuates the prisoners! It's a prison break! Unbelievable. Everything being pulled back here to try to deal with like 12 skifts. Buying a lot of time for our Zerg player, who is still pretty rich, honestly. He's going to go after some Masons in here. There's so many idle ones. Scouting Tier 2. He's got a couple more Watchdogs down here in the bottom left, and there just is not much left for our Zerg player to deal with, to do. Ahmed has destroyed his extra bases. He's down to depleted main. No, actually, his main is not depleted, funnily enough. I can't believe he made this Zozark and he's not making Gorgs or Zarks. Like, he's not doing a thing about that. I can't believe it. Now he doesn't have money, but we'll see. I mean, maybe Ultra Cores, because there's no Savants, can still do something here. Ultra Core Zorius might be able to do something, but I feel like you need either range units that can get on top, or range units that can deal with some of the stacks from afar, or air units that can get right on top of the stack if you're going to do something about this, and it just doesn't quite seem right. Now, I'm not entirely even sure how all of these Ahmeds died, but they are dead, and now maybe Grass Eater can replenish his worker stock. A lot of Masons did die, but they're resaturating the natural. Worker lead, once again, firmly secured in favor of our Terran. Ultra Cores sighted and scouted. We've got 3 Ovaleths here. I don't think that's actually for a drop, though. That's probably just for redundancy. Making some Vorvs and clogging up the pathways. Man, everything blobbing up over here. I didn't even notice that there's a little side passage you can take into that area. That's pretty cute. This map has been around for how long and I didn't notice that? Yeah, well. What a bizarre situation. A bizarre state of affairs as the Ultra Cores try to do their best, but look at all the damage density. Completely left alone back here. I think it's only a matter of time before the Ultra Cores get cut down, and maybe Grass Eater is putting the pieces together himself as he starts to pull away. He needs to go for an actual surround, really. That's what he needs. The Ultra Cores will not stand up to all those Eidolons, but hey, now we're starting to see a whole lot of Mavericks off to the bottom side, and now the Eidolons are getting really sicked on right about now. Hold on! We might actually see Grass Eater break through. Eidolons are very, very fragile. If there's anything on top of them, they're basically dead. Even Azorius. A couple of them getting popped, but yeah, at the end of the day, the focus fire was just not there from Godwheat. He's starting to add some Tier 2 units, finally, to the pick of the litter. Autocrats coming out to try to reclaim some of this forest. He's got the Olympians. Those can and will deal with individual Ultra Cores. I mean, look how much... This one's actually going to stay alive with 1 health. I can't believe it. The Shaman helping him out. Obviously, his high health pool as well. Still, that was a lot of lost army. And so Godwheat is going to be in a bit more of a dangerous position here. Has Grass Eater actually replenished his workers? Not really. He's got very minimal mining going on in those extra bases. Bunch of Lakes, making more Ultra Cores. Still no Gorgs, by the way, so this double upgraded Apex node not actually being used for anything, because Gorgs turn into Zarks, and you can turn Lakes into Zobrialisks, but I wouldn't really recommend that right now. Actually, you know, maybe it would be good because of the Autocrats. I'm not entirely sure. Just a pesky Zeth. Whole army responding to it, of course. And you know what? Godwheat's going to rue the day that he did that. What is this, StarCraft 2? And you did the all-army hotkey? Look at this. Now you're out of position. The Lakers can just get into a spot where they can start laying down the law. Now the Shaman is still providing detection. That's a lot of reclaimed Lakers. What is it with Grass Eater? Walking his Lakers into threat range. Oh, my God. What a disaster. Grass Eater cannot believe what he has done 2 games in a row. And will that break his spirit? I feel like the answer is yes. He is shutting down this 4th base still. He canceled out the attempt at the 5th, and then went for a counterattack when the army was starting to move out of position. So there is that at the very least, but he gave away so many Lakes, dude. Not just, like, lost them, but also they were reclaimed, right? So that doesn't help things. Avaleths are still alive. Remaking the army. Well, not really. He's got 10 Zoryus coming. He's got 2 Ultra Cores left. He needs like 2 or 3 more army rotations before he can possibly do anything to what Godwheat has. And I think at this point it has to be guerrilla warfare. He has to be attacking at the extremities and taking advantage of the fact that Godwheat is just maybe a little bit too bad at multitasking to contend with that. It does feel like we are about to watch the undoing of our Grass Eater. Poor guy. But he did it to himself, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. Will he be able to stave off the hordes, the unwashed masses of reclaimed Zerg and lots of Terran? I think the answer is no. And I think everybody knows it. But let's see it. 14 Lakes. If they burrow immediately upon their arrival here, they might be able to help turn the tide. GG instead is called before they even hatch. And that is a wrap. Godwheat takes the game. In fact, he takes both games. Did he deserve either win? I'll leave that for you guys to decide. Comment below what you think about that. Bye.